Hello everyone and welcome back to our virtual Mishnah Berurah share. We're holding you Mishnah Berurah Cheli Beis and Emir Hashem. Today we will be completing Daf Ayin Vav Amud Aleph and moving ahead finally and covering Ayin Vav Amud Beis. Before we begin, our learning should be a schus for Achedu Kol Beis Yisrael Hanusunu Batzaru Bashivya Ha'imdim Bein Bayam Bein Bayabasha Hamakim Yerachem Aleihem V'Yitziah Mitzara L'Rvacha Me'afelo L'Geula Me'afelo L'Oiro Mishibud L'Geula Hashta B'Gala U'Vizman Kariv V'Naimar Amen. So, we're holding here in Siman Kof Ayin Daled. We're on Ayin Vav Amud Beis, 3 lines down in the Mechaber by Sif Zayin. Now, we learned in the very beginning of Siman Kof Ayin Daled the halacha that wine requires a bracha if you drink it b'saycha seudah. So you're sitting by a seudah, you washed. Let's not speak about a Shabbos seudah for the moment, because by a Shabbos seudah you made Kiddush, and you made a Bar Priagafen on the Yayin of Kiddush. So let's not deal with a Shabbos or a Yom Tov seudah. You're having your Tuesday night supper, you washed, and now in the middle of the seudah you want to drink Yayin. The halach is that you have to make a Bar Priagafen on your Yayin, and the hamotzi that you make on the pas does not pater the yayin that you want to drink. And we saw that the reason for that is yayin is very choshev. Yayin is a rosh v'rishain lamashkin. It's the king of all beverages, and therefore it is too choshev to become a tuffle to the pas. And the bracha of hamotzi on the pas cannot pater the bar priagafen on the yayin. Okay, and from there we branched out and we had long conversations about Yayin Shalafnei Hamazon, Yayin Shabasaycha Hamazon, Yayin Shalachar Hamazon, Kiddush, Shar Mashkin, etc., etc. Now we're going to shift away from wine, and now we're talking about you have a seudah, and again you washed by your seudah, you made a moitzi alapas, and now you want to drink something else other than Yayin b'saycha seudah. You want to have water, you want to have iced tea, you want to have soda, you want to have orange juice. Says the Mechaber Siv Zayin, Imein lo yayin, if you're not drinking wine now, b'saycha seudah, v'shoysa mayim, and you want to drink water, or sha'ar mashke, or some other beverage, toicha seudah, ein levarech aleim, you do not make a shahakal on that drink. Why? The chashivi kibayim machmas haseudah, because any other drink that you drink in the middle of the seudah is considered something that comes machmas haseudah. It's considered to be a seudah food that's part and parcel of the seudah, and it is tuffle to the pas. Why? Lefi she'ein derech lecha b'lo shtia, because you don't sit down to eat a meal without drinking. Part of eating is also drinking. Therefore, the drink is secondary to the food. It's secondary to the pas, and the bracha moitzi on the pas paters the drink. And goes on the Mechaber to say, V'af yayin lo yitzarech bracha lefanav. In reality, wine would also not require a bracha rishayna b'saycha seudah, because again, it really should be considered machmas haseudah. What the Mechaber is saying is, I'm telling you now that you don't have to make a shahakal on any other drink during the seudah, because it's all considered machmas haseudah, because you don't eat without drinking. Says the Mechaber, really yayin should be the same way. Yayin is a drink, it should be considered machmas haseudah. In reality, it should not require a bracha rishayna. So why does it? Spells out the Mechaber, ela mipnei shehu chashuv. It's only because it is very chashuv. It's a rosh for rishain l'chal hamashkim. So kevei bracha la'atzmai. So therefore, it needs its own bracha, and it's not considered a tuffle to the pas. Aval mayim, but water, or sha'ar mashkim, or iced tea, or Pepsi, lo chashivi. They're not chashuv. It's a shahakal drink. Ve'enam tu'unim bracha, and therefore they do not require a bracha rishayna or a bracha achrayna. B'saycha seudah. You're not going to make a shahakal before you drink the drink b'saycha seudah, and you're not going to make a bar nefashis. You're going to pot to the bracha achrayna with the berkas hamazon, because all of these drinks are considered ba machmas hamazon. Let's see the Mishnah Berurah Oiskat and Chavches. The lashon of the Mechaber over here in the beginning of the sif was im ein lo yayin. If you don't have wine, Says the Mishnah Berurah, Asif Aleph Koi. The Mechaber is going back on the very beginning of our Siman. The Ayayin Shebesoich HaSeudah Mavarach Bracha Rishona Af Besoich HaSeudah Mishum Chashivusai, where we said that if you drink Yayin Besoich HaSeudah, you need a Bracha Rishona, you have to make a Bari Priyagofen. Aval Ashar Mashkin Loi. Over here, the Mechaber is telling me that's the din by Yayin, but not by Shar Mashkin. Why? Dinitpalim lahasuda, because Shar Mashkim are considered a tuffle to the food. It's a tuffle to the seudah. It's bar machmas hasuda, and therefore it does not get its own bracha. These are considered, the drinks are considered dvarim haboyim machmas hasuda. It's a food item that is coming as part and parcel of the rest of the seudah, and you're drinking it b'soich haseudah, in the middle of the seudah. So it's a tuffle to the pas, and it is covered by the hamotzi. The mavur b'simid kofayin zayin sif aleph. This halach is going to be spelled out in Yirtz Hashem in Simid kofayin zayin. Dein mevarchen alein, that you never make a bracha rishona, a separate bracha rishona, on dvarim haboyim machmas hasuda b'soich hasuda. The niftarin beberkas hamotzi, because they are pattered from a bracha rishona by virtue of the hamotzi on the pas. Ois katan lamid ve'enam tu'unim bracha loy lifneim v'loy la'achareim. These drinks don't get a bracha rishona. The bracha rishona is covered by the hamotzi, nor do they get a bracha achrona. They don't get a bar nefashos. The bracha achrona is going to be berkas hamazon. Va'afilu mehebayim akar gemar seudah. Even if you drank these drinks again in that part of the meal that back in the day they referred to as la'achar hamazon, after you finished eating, but between the end of the eating and the benching, which we have said again and again and again, we don't recognize such a time of the meal called la'achar hamazon. By us, the seudah does not end until benching. Says the Mishnah Berurah, so vafilu him bar machar gemar seudah. Even if you are to drink a drink after all the food was taken off the table before benching, lididan, according to us, deinanu moishkin yadeinim in hapas, that our minig is that the seudah is not over until benching. The chashav hakurl ki b'soich haseudah. So until benching, it's always considered b'soich haseudah. Now continues the Mechaber, 2 lines from the bottom by the word va'afilu, a little bit before the middle of the line. So the halacha that the Mechaber just taught us is, while we saw in the beginning of the Siman that if you want to drink yayin b'soich haseudah, you have to make a bar priyagofen, that's only because yayin is super chashuv. Since yayin is super chashuv, it can't be considered a tuffle to the pas, and you cannot cover the yayin with the bar priyagofen, with the hamotzi on the pas. The bracha on the pas cannot cover the yayin. But you want to drink soda, you want to drink water, you want to drink iced tea, b'soich haseudah, you do not make a separate bracha rishona because it will be covered by the hamotzi on the pas. Why? Because any drinks that are not chashuv like yayin, really any drinks, including yayin, that you drink during a seudah, they're all considered dvarim haboyim machmas hasuda. It's all considered a part and parcel of the seudah and tuffle to the pas. Problem with yayin is yayin can't be tuffle to pas. So yayin needs its own bracha. But Pepsi, water, orange juice, anything else would not require a separate bracha rishona because it's tuffle to the seudah. Now, says the Mechaber, afilu, this is true even imayatzame kaidam hasuda. Let's say I was already thirsty before the seudah. Before I sat down to have my seudah, I was already thirsty. So really, 20 minutes ago, I wanted to take a drink. I didn't take a drink. I held off until the seudah. Is it still true that the drink is machmas hasuda? Over there, you might think maybe the drink is not considered machmas hasuda. After all, I'm not drinking it because of the seudah. I'm not drinking it necessarily as part of the seudah. I wanted a drink already 10 minutes ago. I said, can I have a drink? Yeah, we're having the seudah. You'll have a drink by the seudah. So is that still considered machmas hasuda? Says the Mechaber, yes. It's still considered machmas seudah. It still does not get its own bracha Rishona or its own bracha Achrona. And the svara over here is a very interesting svara. Says the Mechaber, again, even if it so happens that you were thirsty already before the seudah, but why didn't you drink before the seudah? Says the Mechaber, since you did not take the drink before the seudah. Why? Because you didn't want to have a drink on an empty stomach. You know how sometimes you take a big drink, but on an empty stomach you feel bloated. So you didn't want to take a drink on an empty stomach. So you waited until the seudah so that you should drink the drink together with food. Nimtza, it comes out, says the Mechaber, it comes out that the drink is part of the seudah. What upas paitrasam, and therefore the bracha hamotzi and the pas is going to pot to the drink. What's the Mechaber saying? Again, the Mechaber is saying like this. I explained to you, says the Mechaber, that when you drink shar mashkim during a seudah, you don't need a separate bracha rishona. Why? Because all drinks are covered by hamotzi, because all of the drinks are considered machmas haseudah. Says the Mechaber, you might think that if I was thirsty before the seudah started, so now the drink is not really considered machmas haseudah. And maybe now it does need its own bracha rishona. Says the Mechaber, no, it doesn't. Why? Because the Mechaber says, you know why people wait until the seudah to drink? Because they don't want to drink on an empty stomach. And why? Because it'll make you feel bloated. It'll make you feel uncomfortable. So memela, you want to drink as part of the seudah. That's what you want to do. You want the drink to be part of the seudah. So that means the drink is machmas seudah. If the drink is machmas seudah, it doesn't get its own bracha. Says the Mishnah Berurah, ice cotton, the lamet aleph. The hamayim. The Mechaber said, why did you take the drink before the seudah? Because you didn't want to drink the mayim or the other drinks ali berekana, on an empty stomach. Even though the Mechaber happens to pick on mayim over here, he says, he didn't mean bedafka mayim. He meant any drink. So this happens to be, by the way, really almost a word for word quote from this is almost a word for word quote from the Rabbeinu Yoina in Brachas. This is not the Mechaber's own words. He's really taking it from the Rabbeinu Yoina in Brachas. Now, I don't want to read it inside because I don't want to get sidetracked and risk not covering ground. But there is a very interesting Bir Halacha over here. It's the last Bir Halacha on Ayin Vav Amud Aleph, Bir Halacha Dibra Maskelu Pas Paitrasam, where the Chavetz Chaim points out really a fascinating dichotomy in halacha. He says, what did the Mechaber just tell me? The Mechaber just told me if I was thirsty before the seudah and I waited until the seudah to take the drink, then the bracha of hamotzi on the pas still covers that drink. Why? Because since I didn't want to drink it on an empty stomach, so I waited until the seudah to drink it, that means that I made it machmas seudah. If I made it machmas seudah, it's bottled to the pas, and therefore the hamotzi and the pas patches it. Says the Chavetz Chaim, but really, there's a very similar case where you actually would not make hamotzi on the pas. What would that case be? In our case, what happened is you were thirsty. You realized that you're sitting down to eat supper in 10 minutes. So instead of taking the drink now, where you're going to have to drink it on an empty stomach, you postponed it 10 minutes until supper, and you made it machmas seudah. In that case, you make hamotzi on the pas. The hamotzi on the pas patters the shackle on the drink. However, says the Chavetz Chaim, let's tweak it a little bit. Let's say this happened at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You're not going to eat supper for another 3.5 hours. You ate lunch an hour and a half ago. You're thirsty. There's no seudah in sight. But you still don't want to have a drink on mamish an empty stomach. So what do you want to do? You want to take a little bit of bread and you want to eat a little bit of bread so that you should take the drink, and the drink should not be had on an empty stomach. In that case, says the Chavetz Chaim, you're going to do a fascinating thing. And this makes for a great halachic trivia question. Chavetz Chaim says what you're going to do then is, you're going to take a piece of bread, you're going to make a shahakal. You hear this? You're not going to wash, you're not going to make a mitzi. You're going to make a shahakal on the bread, and you're going to pater the drink with a shahakal. How does that work? So says the Chavetz Chaim, he says, because why are you eating the bread? You're only eating the bread as a tuffle to the drink. You see, in our case, you're not eating the bread as a tuffle to the drink. You're having supper. You're being kaveh seudah la pas. So the bread is not a tuffle to the drink. You made the drink tuffle to the seudah. You postponed your drink so that it should be part of the seudah. But in the second case, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you want a drink. You're not being kaveh seudah. All you want is a drink. But you don't want to drink on an empty stomach. Memela, you have to eat a little bit of bread. Now the bread is a tuffle to the drink. Now, you can't make a shahakal on the drink and pater the bread. Normally, you make the bracha on the ikar and you pater the tuffle. But over here, you can't. Why? Because the whole reason you're eating the bread is so that you shouldn't take the drink on an empty stomach, which means that the bread has to be eaten first. So it turns out you're going to make a shahakal on the bread. How do you make a shahakal on bread? Yeah, you're going to make a shahakal on the bread because the bread is a tuffle to the mayim. So you're going to make a shahakal on the bread, and you're going to pater the water with that shahakal. And that's going to be that. So you have 2 cases over here. In both cases, you have the same issue, that you don't want to take a drink on an empty stomach. But in one case, you're turning the drink into a tuffle to the seudah. You're making it machmas seudah, so the drink is pater from the hamotzi, by the hamotzi. And in the second case, the bread is going to become a tuffle to the drink, and you're going to pater the drink with a shahakal. You're going to pater the hamotzi, the pas, with a shahakal. Very interesting. Okay, now we go weiter. So, we're in the Mechaber on the bottom line of Ayin Vav Amud Aleph, and we just learned a halacha that if you want to take a drink in the middle of a seudah, you're drinking mayim or shar mashkim or any other drink, not wine, you don't make a bracha on the drink because all the drinks are considered dvarim aboim machmas seudah b'soich seudah, and they're a tuffle to the pas, and they're covered by the hamotzi on the pas. That is the first opinion in the Mechaber. But now we have a second opinion. Says the Mechaber weiter, last 2 lines that Ayin Vav Amud Aleph. V'yesh omrim. However, there are those that say, and this is brought down from a Rashba. V'yesh omrim. There are those that say, Mazel Tov, we finally turned the page to Ayin Vav Amud Beis. V'yesh omrim. There are those that say, levarech alamayim. There are those that say, levarech alamayim shebaseudah, that you do make a bracha. Now, the Mechaber says mayim, but this does not mean bedafka mayim. It means mayim, water, or any other drink other than wine. So, says the Mechaber, there's a Yesh Omrim, there's a Rashba, who disagrees with the first opinion that we just learned, who says, if you want to drink mayim or shar mashkim, b'soich seudah, they do need their own bracha rishona. You want to drink a cup of iced tea in the middle of the seudah, this opinion holds that it is not covered by the hamotzi on the pas, and you have to make a separate shahakal. Now, why would that be? So let's take a look here at the Mishnah Berurah. Turn back to Ayin Vav Amud Aleph and take a look at Mishnah Berurah's cut and lamed beis. The bottom line in the Mishnah Berurah says to Mishnah Berurah, V'yesh omrim levarech. The Rashba says that you do have to make a separate bracha rishona on drinks, on mayim or shar mashkim during the seudah. Hainu bracha rishona, says the Chavetz Chaim. This means when he says v'yesh omrim levarech, he means a bracha rishona, not a bracha achroina. It's going to be covered by benching, but it's not covered by a mitzi. You need a separate bracha rishona. Why? The svira lehu, because these shitas hold the dinoi k'may perish oichel b'soich seudah, because what's the din of this water or iced tea or Pepsi that you're drinking b'soich seudah? These Rishonim, the Rashba holds that this is not dvarim abayim machmas seudah b'soich seudah. The drink is not a seudah food. It's disvir lahu dedinai k'may peros she'oichel b'soich seudah. It's like fruits. If you happen to eat fruit in the middle of the seudah, the tzarek bracha lefneim, where we're going to see in Siman Kuf Ayin Zayin Sif Aleph, where the Mechaber is going to say that fruit is not considered a seudah food. It's not something that you're kaveh seudah on. It's not a meal food. It's not something that's ba lalafes es hapas. In the words of the Bir Halacha in Siman Kuf Ayin Zayin, he says, it's dvarim she'ein derech lalafes behen es hapas. Okay, let's drop that Bir Halacha for the moment. It gets a little complicated. But the point is that in Siman Kuf Ayin Zayin, it's explained, the Mechaber says, what is covered by hamotzie. What's covered by hamotzie is basar, dogim, meat, fish, beitzim, eggs, the yarakos, vegetables, gvina, cheese, daisa, a grain cereal, mina meluchim, pickled foods. Says the Mechaber, these are all dvarim abayim lalafes bayas hapas. These are all meal foods that you eat together with the bread of your seudah. The Bir Halacha that I just quoted, he says it doesn't necessarily have to be foods that you eat with bread. What it means is these are things that are boyin limazon u'lesoiva. These are foods that you eat for sustenance and for I forgot how you pronounce the word. Satiety, satiation. So if you eat it to fill you up, it's for soiva. V'achalta v'savata. You will eat and you will be satisfied. These are meal foods that you eat for your sustenance and to satisfy your hunger. Not so Paris. The Mechaber says that's not why you eat fruit. And therefore fruit is not considered, even though you're eating it in the middle of the meal, it's not considered ba machmas hamazain and machmas seudah. And since it's not considered ba machmas seudah, it's not covered by the hamotzie on the pas, and it needs its own bracha rishona. Says the Mechaber over here by us in Kuf Ayin Dalid, and explains the Mishnah Berurah, the sheet of the Rashba is that when you take drinks in the middle of the seudah, water, orange juice, Pepsi, that's not considered dvarim abayim machmas seudah b'soich hamazain. At best, it's like Paris. It's not lalafes bayas hapas. It's not mini mazain. It's not something that you have for soiva. It's lishreis hamaychel maybe. It's to wash down the food. But the Rashba holds that that's not considered machmas seudah, and in his opinion, you would have to make a new bracha rishona. You would have to make a shahakol on the drinks that you have during the seudah. So again, just reading from the beginning of Mishnah Berurah, cutting limud beis, hainu bracha rishona, you would need a bracha rishona of shahakol to svir lahu, because the Rashba holds the dinoi that the din of mayim or shar mashkim is k'may peirei shaychel b'soich seudah, like fruit that you happen to eat in the middle of the seudah, dit tzarek bracha lefneim, which the Mechaber says at Kuf Ayin Zayin needs a bracha rishona. But as far as benching, everybody agrees that the water, Pepsi, orange juice, iced tea that you drink in the middle of the seudah would be covered by benching. Now, Ois Kat Lamed Gimel, if you look at the top line of Ayin Vav Amud Beis, again, it's interesting, the Mechaber chose to mention Mayim. He says that the Rashba says, the Yeshar says, Levarech al Hamayim. It doesn't mean only mayim. It means shar mashkim too. Says the Chavetz Chaim is kalam gimel v'uadid l'shar kalam mashkim. Now, the Mishnah Berurah now is going to answer a kasha that's bothering him. The Mishnah Berurah says, I don't understand. We have this Rashba, and it seems, the way we just explained the Rashba, that the Rashba holds that drinks that you drink toich seudah are not considered ba machmas seudah. And that's why he holds you got to make a bracha rishoni, you got to make a shakal on drinks that you drink toich seudah. But says the Mishnah Berurah, I don't understand. In the beginning of the Siman, we said that if you drink yayin b'soich seudah, you need a bari priagafen. And we said, why? Why do you need a bari priagafen? Now, if we had to explain why, and we had to say that the reason why yayin gets its own bracha rishayna when you drink it teicha seudah is because it's chashuv and it's rosh for rishon l'chol hamashkin, that means that the default position would have been that even yayin should not require a bracha rishayna teicha seudah. Why? Because it's considered ba machmas seudah. So the Mishnah Berurah is very bothered. The Mishnah Berurah says, the Rajba is telling me, you drink water, iced tea, Pepsi, orange juice, b'soich seudah, you need a bracha rishayna. Why? Because it's not ba machmas seudah. Well, wait a second. So, im kain, so yayin also. The reason yayin needs a bari priagafen is not because it's chashuv, it's because it's not ba machmas seudah. Says the Mishnah Berurah, no. Yayin would be different. Yayin, if not for the fact that yayin is super chashuv, yayin would be considered ba machmas seudah. Other drinks are not ba machmas seudah, but yayin is. Why? Because the Gemara in Brachas learns out that yayin is, in the words of Chazal, it's soed liba. Yayin satisfies. When you drink yayin, that brings to satisfaction. Water does not, Pepsi does not, orange juice does not. So therefore, those drinks, says the Rashba, are not considered machmas seudah. Yayin is soed liba. Yayin does satisfy. Therefore, yayin would be machmas seudah. So why doesn't yayin get a bracha rishayna teicha seudah? Because it's super chashuv. It's rosh for rishon l'chol hamashkim, and it can't be nitval to the pas. Says the Mishnah Berurah inside. It's cut lam and gimel. V'af agav the yayin chashvina leiba machmas seudah. Even though it's obvious from Sif Aleph and our Siman that when you drink yayin b'soich seudah, it is considered machmas seudah. How do we know that? Darak mishum chashivusay tzarich bracha v'chanal. Because we said the only reason it needs a bracha rishayna is because it's so chashiv. It's rosh for rishon. That's why it needs a bracha rishayna. But if not for that, it wouldn't. Why? Because it's ba machmas seudah. Says the Mishnah Berurah, yayin shani, yayin is different to soed liba tvei, because yayin satisfies. The gam, the bala hamshich tavis ha'achila, and also like we've seen again and again and again, it's an appetizer that draws on the appetite. Masha'ein kain sha'arei mashkin. Okay, so what do we have so far? So far we have, in this sif, we have a machlokes, we have two different opinions. You sit down Tuesday night, you wash by supper. Now in the middle of supper, you want to have a drink. You want to have water, Pepsi, orange juice, I don't know, pomegranate juice, whatever it is, just not wine. You want to have a drink, mayim or shar mashkim, in the middle of the seudah. Does it need a bracha rishayna or not? So the first opinion brought down by the Mechaber says, no, it doesn't need a bracha rishayna. And of course it doesn't need a bracha achrayna. Why does it need a bracha rishayna? Because all drinks that you drink during the seudah are considered dvarim haboim machmas seudah, because you don't need a seudah without drinking. So therefore it's all covered by the hamotzi on the pas. That's the first opinion. The second opinion, the Esharmrim, which is the Rashba, says no, drinks in the middle of the seudah do need their own bracha rishayna. Why? Because they're not considered dvarim haboim machmas seudah. Why isn't it dvarim haboim machmas seudah? Because it's not something that's lalafis bayis hapas. It's not something that's eaten for satisfaction. It's not something that's eaten for sustenance. It's like peiros. It's like fruit in the middle of the meal. So the Rashba holds it does need a bracha. Now says the Mechaber, top line ayin vav amud beis, the yesh machmirin oid. Then there's a third opinion that's even more machmir. What's this third opinion? The yesh machmirin oid. There's a shita that's machmir even more. Levarech aleihem, who says you have to make a bracha on them. What's the them? Over here says the Mishnah Berurah, this third opinion is addressing only water, not shar mashkim. V'yesh machmir moed. There's a shita that's even more machmir, levarech aleihem, who says that you have to make a new bracha rishayna on every drink of water b'chol pam. You sit down Tuesday night, you wash, you start eating your steak, you want to take a drink of water, you got to make a shackle. You make a shackle, you drink your drink of water, you put it down. You have some French fries. You want another drink of water, you need another shackle. You make another shackle. You eat more steak, more French fries, some string beans with almonds and fried onions. Now you're thirsty again, you reach for the water, you got to make another shackle. Now again, this is only water, not by other drinks. Certainly not by wine, but only water. Water, every time you drink water during the seudah, every time you reach for the glass of water, you got to make a new shackle. Wow. We'll have to see why. So, v'yesh machmir noit levarach alei b'chol pam. Why, says the Mechaber? Tistama nimlachu b'chol pam. Because the default position is that every time you reach for that water glass, it's a new drink. Once you finish your drink of water, you're nimlach. You don't intend on drinking more water. Now you decide to drink water again. That's new. You got to make another bracha. Why would it be this way? So the Mishnah Berurah is going to explain. Because the ones who hold this way hold that when you drink water, water is tasteless. You don't drink water because, geschmack of water. You drink water to quench your thirst. That's the only reason. The only reason you drink it. You drink it Siman. You drink it to satisfy your thirst. Reasons this opinion that the way water works is you made a shackle, you drank water, you satisfied your thirst. Your drinking is over. You put down the glass, your drinking is over. You're not going to drink water again until you're thirsty again. Now you got thirsty again, it's a new drink. It requires a new shackle. So that's this third shita. Okay? Says the Mishnah Berurah, Lamadal b'chol pam destama v'af l'deyazu. But this opinion, this third opinion, dafka b'mayim amrinan to mistama nimlachu. This only applies to water. She'enon b'shaysamayim elo litzmai, because a person only drinks water when he's thirsty to satisfy his thirst. Therefore, each drink is a new drink. Because he drank, he satisfied his thirst. He's not going to drink again until he's thirsty again. That's new. Avo b'sheichar, but if you're drinking beer, umei dvash, or some kind of honey mead, the kiyoytza b'zeh, or soda, lo chashuv b'stam nimlach. Over there, we don't say that each drink is a new drink, because it has taste. It has taste. So you drank some, you know you're going to drink more. U'bebracha ach asagi l'kuliyam. Ach, lekritz, not sure what that is. The Doimeyan drinks similar to this lekritz. The description that I heard about lekritz sounds like it's tea. Shein chaisid kim litzmai. These are other drinks that are like mayim that you only drink to quench your thirst. Dinam kamay mayim l'deyazu. This opinion, this third machmer opinion, would treat them like mayim. Okay, now, at this point, we have over here three shitas. Shita number one, any drink that you drink during the seudah is considered ba machmas seudah b'saycha seudah. It's covered by hamotzi. You don't make a shackle on any drinks that you drink during the seudah. That's basically what we do. That's what we do. We make hamotzi, covers all our drinks. Second shita, drinks are not considered ba machmas seudah. Therefore, you want to have a drink during the seudah, you got to make a shackle. You make one shackle, it's going to cover all your drinks. Shita number three, way out chumrah. Water, you got to make a new shackle every time you drink water. Okay, what do we do? Says the Mechaber. Very interesting. Second line down near the beginning of the line. Ayin vav on the base. V'haroitza lehistalik min hasafik. No, we have a machlokes hadeyas over here. Machlokes rishonim. What do you do if you want to kriyach out of the suffix? Comes the Mechaber with a very interesting eitzah. V'haroitza lehistalik min hasafik. Yeshev koidim netila. Before he washes the tilas yadayim, he should sit down in his place by the dining room table, v'yavarech, and make a bracha on a drink. So before you wash, sit down by the table, take a glass of Pepsi, make a shahakal, v'yavarech al das lishtois b'saych sudasai, and have in mind that the shahakal that you're making now should cover all the drinks that you're going to drink in the middle of the seudah. What does this do? Well, we have a suffix right now. We have a machlokes rishonim. You want to take a drink of Pepsi in the middle of the seudah, what do? According to the first shita, you don't make a bracha. According to the second shita, the Rashba, you do make a bracha. According to the third shita, if you're dealing with water, you got to make brachas over and over and over again. Okay, sit down by the table before the seudah. Right now, if you want to have a drink, you have to make a bracha. You're not in the middle of a seudah. You didn't make a hamotzi. So right now, before the seudah, you want to have a drink, you have a chiyuv bracha rishona. So fill up a glass of Pepsi, make a bracha, take a drink. When you make that shahakol, have in mind that shahakol should cover all the drinks that you're going to drink during the seudah. And now by the seudah, don't make a shahakol, because it's covered by the shahakol that you made already. Boom! You got to add it a suffix. That's what the Mechaber says. The Mechaber says, I just gave you an eitzah to get added a suffix. Says the Ramah, Hagah, V'haminig, Kisvara, Harishayna. Says the Ramah, the minig is like the Svara Rishayna. The minig is what we do. The minig is the first opinion in the Mechaber that Hamotzi covers all your drinks, because all of your drinks are considered Farim Habar Machmas Hasuda Besoich Hasuda. Now I have a very shvera kasha on this Mechaber, but we'll get to it in a minute. First, let's take a look here at the Mishnah Berurah. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Ois Katan Lamed Hey. What's the eitzah of the Mechaber? The eitzah of the Mechaber is that at the beginning of the seudah, before Netilas Yadayim, you should sit down in your seat by the dining room table, and you should make a shakal on a drink. Kaidem Netila. Says the Mishnah Berurah, why dafka Kaidem Netila? Says the Mishnah Berurah, very pashut. Talaka Netila, because after you wash Netilas Yadayim, ein lo lahafsik b'shtiyas mashkin shel rishus. You can't go make now, after Netilas Yadayim, before Hamotzi, you can't make a shakal on a drink. Can't do that. Tekef l'netila seudah. You're not allowed to be mafsik between the Netilas Yadayim and the Hamotzi. V'havdalo d'sif dalid shani. We spoke earlier in Sif Dalid. We said Motzi Shabbos. You're drinking yayin for the Havdalah, and you want to pater the yayin that you're going to have in the middle of a malka. You should drink the yayin between the Netilas Yadayim and Hamotzi. How could you do that? So the Mishnah already explained over there. V'havdalah d'sif dalid shani mishum dasa lechel kaidem havdalah. Havdalah wine you're allowed to drink between the Netilas Yadayim and Hamotzi. Why? Because it's sarchei seudah. Why is it sarchei seudah? Because you're not allowed to eat before Havdalah. The Mechaber said B'dafka that you should sit down b'mkaim seudasai. You should sit down in your place by the dining room table. Why? So explains the Chavetz Chaim, v'lo yeshanim m'kaimai, because we don't want you to make a shina makom. To be shina makom, if you're going to change your place, tzarich lavar shenis k'shishai sa'achakach. If you make a bracha and then you make a bracha on a drink, right? You make a shakel, you take a drink. Then you make a shina makom, and you want to take another drink. You need a new shakel. Now, we're going to have to discuss what constitutes a shina makom. Okay, if you're if you have an open floor plan and your kitchen opens up to your dining room and you make a shakel by the kitchen table, then you go to the dining room table, that's not shina makom. You don't need a new bracha. So we're going to have to get into the weeds of shina makom when we learn the halachas of shina makom. So what the Mishnah Berurah is telling you is, you want to know why the Mechaber said that you should sit down b'mkaim sudasai at the place of your seudah. It's because the whole thing we're trying to accomplish over here is we're trying that you should make a shahakal before the seudah, and you should pater any drink that you drink during the seudah. Well, in that case, you can't make a shina makom between the two. The chamavur b'sem kofayin chesvim can't leitikin klum. Ois kat lamed zayin v'yavarech, and you should make a bracha on a drink and use it to pater the other drinks. The kasva achroinim, the achroinim write, says the Chavetz Chaim, that if you're going to do this shtick of the Mechaber, if you're going to make that shahakal before the seudah, yizar lishtois pachas meravias. You sit down and you make a shahakal on Pepsi before the seudah begins. Be careful. Drink less than a revius. Why? I'm going to pause for a second so that you can think about it. Okay, did you figure it out? Well, let's see what the Mishnah Berurah says. Dem yishte revius, because if you do drink a revius, lo yoyel klum b'tikunai. You didn't accomplish anything by doing this trick of the Mechaber. Why? Because all you did was get yourself into another suffix. See, what the Mechaber is telling you over here is, he's trying to tell you how to get out of a suffix. What's the suffix? You're going to drink Pepsi in the middle of the seudah. You don't know if that Pepsi in the middle of the seudah needs a bracha or not, because of the machlokes 3 shitas over here, 2 shitas here in Kufay and Dal Siv Zayin. Mechaber said, I'll teach you how to get out of the suffix. Get out of the suffix by making a bracha on a glass of Pepsi before the seudah, and have in mind, then you're definitely chayiv in a bracha rishona, and have in mind to pot of the Pepsi that you're going to drink toicha seudah. Says the Mechaber, but if you go ahead now before the seudah and you drink more than a revius, you know what you did? You got out of one suffix and you creeped into another suffix. That's the old suffix that we had earlier, Siv Zayin. Now you got Siv Vav. Now you climbed into the suffix of the din of Shar Mashkim Lifnei Amazon. Do they need a bracha achrona or not? If you drink a revius of the Pepsi, revius is enough to generate a chiyuv bar nefashos. But now you have a new suffix. Do I make a bar nefashos? Or do I pater it with Birkas Hamazon by benching after the seudah? So you creep now into another suffix. So says the Mechaber, the only way this eitzah is going to help is if you don't creep into that suffix. Make a bracha on the Pepsi, drink less than a revius. So right now you don't have a chiyuv of bar nefashos. So you covered the Pepsi that you're going to drink toicha seudah with the bracha rishona with the shackle that you made now before the seudah. And as far as the bracha achrona, that's going to be benching, because right now you don't have a chiyuv of bracha achrona because you drank less than a revius. Wow. Okay. So the economy specific bracha achrona on mashkan elu. Dafshe day because of other petrasi day chayachal seudah mikevich shasa kadmin zila. Okay. Im yesh like case sheichar levarich alav birkas hamazon, but if you get a bench and you get a bench over a kais of beer, ain't tzarich lizar b'zeh, then you don't have to worry. The berkas bar nefashos rabbi sheyivarach ala kais yifter gam samashkin sheshasa kaid birkas hamazon. If you make a shahakol before the mazon, before the seudah on Pepsi, right, and you have in mind to pater the Pepsi that you drink during the seudah, so you solve that suffix. If you drink more than a revius, now you don't know what to do with the bracha achrona. Oh, you know what? When you bench on a kais of beer. If you bench on a kais of beer, so what are you going to do after benching? You're going to make a shackle on the beer and you're going to drink the beer. And then what are you going to do? You're going to make a bar nefashos on the beer. So that bar nefashos on the beer will cover the bar nefashos on the Pepsi that you drank kaidam hamazon. Ice cut lamed ches al das. Make the bracha shahakol on the Pepsi before the seudah, having in mind it should cover the Pepsi that you're going to drink during the seudah. Or another eitzah, says the Mishnah Berurah, Yavakish la'achar she'eino oichel. Or you're sitting down to eat supper and you have this big suffix. There's somebody else who's not going to eat now. You're eating supper and you have this suffix. Ask somebody else who's not eating now. You know what? Can you take a drink and pater me in the shackle? But at the end, the Ramah said, Ois kat lamites, v'aminig kisvara harishayna. But the minig is like the first opinion of the Mechaber, that all the drinks that you drink during the seudah are considered dvar mabar machmas haseudah b'sech haseudah. They're all part of the seudah. They're all covered by the hamotzi on the pas. They're all tuffled to the pas, and there's no sveikis, and you don't have to make brachas or anything else. Vatam says the Mishnah Berurah, like what we saw earlier at the beginning of this year, because you don't need a seudah without drinking, and therefore and therefore it's all considered dvar mabar machmas haseudah b'soich haseudah. Now, at this point, the Mishnah Berurah is going to go off on a tangent. So, I just want to tell you now that we had this whole Mechaber, and the Mechaber is giving us an eitzah how to kriach out of the suffix. The Ramah tells me don't bother. Hamini kisvara rishayna. When you take out the Aruch HaShulchan, the Aruch HaShulchan says very clear. He says, he brings down the first opinion of the Mechaber, and he ends off v'chein haminig pashut. That's it. He doesn't mention anything about using the Mechaber's suffix or anything else. And now that's the lashon I wanted to give you. He does bring down the Mechaber's eitzah of how to get out of the suffix, but you got to hear what he says about it. He says v'zehu laha'adafa ba'alma. It's totally, completely extraneous. V'ha'ikar ledina, the halacha is the ain't sarach levarach alamayim ushar mashke shahakal. You do not have to make a shahakal on drinks that you drink b'soich haseudah. That's it. So he looks at the eights of the Mechaber, and he says it's mamish laha'adofa ba'alma. The question that I have, which I have not yet gotten a satisfactory answer to, is I don't really understand the Mechaber's Eitzah. I don't understand why the Mechaber's Eitzah doesn't run afoul of a bracha she'eina tzricha. In other words, if I'm about to sit down to a seudah, and I know that I'm going to wash, and I know that me'ikar adin, once I wash, I don't have to make a shahakal on a drink toich seudah, but I want to be machmir, and I want to make a shahakal now before the seudah, I'm not sure why that isn't a bracha she'eina tzricha. The only thing is that I'm doing it to be choishish for the Shitas HaRashba. And according to the Shitas HaRashba, I do need a shahakal in middle of the seudah. So since I'm doing it according to the Shitas HaRashba, and according to the Shitas HaRashba, I do need a shahakal toich seudah. So the shahakal that I'm making now is not a bracha she'eina tzricha. But if we paskin me'ikar adin, if we paskin like the Shita Rishina, so then it is a bracha she'eina tzricha. So the only thing I can tell you is that the Mechaber did not paskin like the Shita Rishina. The Mechaber brought down the Shita Rishina. The Mechaber then brought down the Rashba. The Mechaber then brought down the Yesh Machmirin. And the Mechaber was not Machriya. The Mechaber didn't paskin. So by the Mechaber, it's taka a suffix. By the Mechaber, it's taka a suffix. So the Mechaber said, you want to be yoitzel l'chaladeis, go ahead and make a shahakal and a Pepsi before the seudah, and like the Mishnah Berurah says, drink less than a revius. You can't call it a bracha she'eina tzricha, because I'm doing it to be chayshish for Shitas HaRashba. And according to Shitas HaRashba, it's not a bracha she'eina tzricha. But that only works for the Mechaber. Or maybe for Sfardim, who paskin like the Mechaber. But we paskin like the Ramah. And the Ramah says, V'aminik kisvara rishona. Now, he doesn't say v'ho'ikar kisvara rishona. So maybe he's not paskining like the svara rishona. If you paskin like the svara rishona, then it strikes me and it's a bracha she'eina tzricha. So, all right, it could be, he says, v'aminig kasvara rishona. He doesn't say v'ho'ikar kisvara rishona. So maybe he's not being machriya like the svara rishona. He's just saying the minig is like the svara rishona. All right, no. Okay, we're going to stop over here. We'll continue with the Mishnah Berurah's tangent next time. But Baruch Hashem, today we covered the page, really. Thank you so much for joining me for limud HaTorah, the source of limud HaTorah should be megan against Klal Yisrael. Rabbi Hashem should send Yeshua's for his parnas and shedduchim to those in need. We should be zeicher to see the Geula Shlema with the Bias Gal Tzedek B'Meher of Yameinu. Amen. Be well.